Hello everyone. So today we will be solving Leetcode problem 15, that is 3 sum. So we are given an integer array nums and we have to return all the triplets such that I will not be equal to j, I will not be equal to k, and j will not be equal to k, and their sum will be equals to 0. So we also have to take care that our solution set must not contain any duplicate triplets. So let's do this. So we are given an integer array nums and we have to return all the triplets, like all the elements in our array whose sum would be equal to 0. And we have to make sure that our solution would be a set that it must not contain any duplicate triplets. So there would be 4 cases arising. So let's see what would be those cases. So our case 1 can be when all three of them are 0. When all three of them are 0, so our sum would be 0. Now this would be case 1. Now case 2 can be when one of them is 0 and the other would be, so one would be a positive integer and one would be a negative integer. So in this case our sum would be 0. Now another case that may arise is our case 3 would be something like we have a positive integer and we have two negative integers whose sum is equal to that positive integer. Or what can be our case 4? That we have a negative integer and the sum of other two positive integer equals to that negative integer. So these are the following cases that may arise. Now let's see in our nums array that how we can obtain our result set. So this you can see that this follows our case number 2 rule. Case number 2 rule. Now another one can be this, as like we have got not this. Another one can be like -1, 2 and -1. That is, if I write it -1, 2 and -1. So like -1 would be -2 and then there would be +2, which is 0. So this would follow our case number 4. So we would be having approximately, like we have to cover 4 cases in our code. So let's go over to Leetcode and see how we can code this problem. And yeah, that would be it. Let's begin with defining our result, which would be a set. Then we would keep 3 arrays, that is p, z and n, which would keep track of the positives, the negatives and the zeros in our array. So for num in nums, if our num would be greater than 0, we would append it to our positive array. If our num is smaller than 0, we would append it to our negative array, else we would append it to our 0. Then we would take our uppercase N and P to define our set of negative and our set of positives. After that, we would be writing our cases. So we are doing this like we are taking a set of negative and positive so that we can use that while we are like comparing. So for example, like let's take our case 1. So if we have gotten 0, we would see for num in positive, if we have got a negative of that num in n. So if we would have got that, we would be adding it to our tuple. So we would be adding it to our tuple. We would be having a negative number, we would be having 0 and we would be having that num. So this is our case 1. Now let's write our case 2. So our case 2 would be like if our length of 0 will be greater than or equal to 3, then in the result we'll add the tuple that is 0, 0 and 0. This is our case 2. Now let's move on to case 3. So that would be for I in length of our negative array. So we will check for j in, sorry, this would be range. So in this range, that is a length of a negative array. So for j in a range of I plus 1 and length of n, we would be having our target. So our target would be negative of, we will add the two numbers that is n of I plus n of j. So and when we will be having the negative, now we will search for this target if this target is in P. So if it is in P, like for a negative, we would be having the sum of its the sum of the other two, like when we sum it up for those negative numbers, we would be having a positive integer. So they would cancel out and we would be having our tuple added. So that would be tuple sorted, and we would be having our n of I, then our n of j, and then our target. Now we will do the same. We will do the same for our positive. So for I in range of length of positive, so what we will do is for j in range of I plus 1 and length of positive array, we will be having our target which should be negative of the sum between p of I and p of j. And then if our target is in n, then we would add our tuple, we would add our tuple sorted. This one would be p of I, and then we would be having p of j, and then we would be having our target. And in the end, we will just return our result. So let's run our code to see if the test cases are passing. So they are passing. So yeah, that would be pretty much it for the problem 3 sum. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.